May you have a truly blessed day and a wonderfully blessed week ahead as we begin this journey together.
Yes, absolutely.
Imagine holding a legal document written thousands of years ago, and it doesn't just tell you the rules of a new nation or lay out the laws.
Right, which is what you'd expect.
Exactly. Instead, it accurately predicts exactly how you and your descendants are going to spectacularly fail, break all those rules, and basically ruin everything.
It's remarkably blunt.
It really is. And then it gives you the specific, almost psychological blueprint for how to fix it after the disaster has already happened.
Yeah, that's the fascinating part.
So today we are opening up the detailed study notes of two highly respected Bible translations. We've got the Holman Study Bible and the NAA Study Bible.
Two really excellent resources.
Right. And we're using them to explore a piece of ancient text that operates exactly like that blueprint. We are zeroing in on one pivotal, frankly mind-bending section of Scripture, Deuteronomy chapter 30.
And the layers of this specific text are just profound. If we look at the historical context, we aren't just dealing with a standard ancient legal code.
No, not at all.
The notes from these study Bibles reveal a masterclass on a theological tension that philosophers are literally still arguing about today.
Oh, for sure.
We're looking at the brutal collision between human free will, like our responsibility to make choices, and divine grace.
Which is a huge topic.
Massive. But to really grasp the weight of this, we have to put you, the listener, right there in the setting.
Paint the picture for us.
Okay, so we are standing on the plains of Moab. The Israelites have been wandering the desert for decades. They're finally on the absolute edge of the promised land, staring at the culmination of generations of hope.
Just waiting to cross over.
Exactly. And Moses, this legendary leader who has carried them through everything, is delivering his climactic ultimate farewell speech.
Because he knows he's not going with them.
Right. He knows he is not crossing the river. So this is his final plea.
The air would be incredibly thick with anticipation.
Yeah.
You would expect Moses to give them a standard roaring locker room pep talk.
Like, go get him.
Yeah. Something along the lines of, go in there, stay true to the covenant, conquer the land, and you'll live happily ever after.
But he doesn't do that.
No, he takes a completely different, shockingly realistic turn. Moses looks past their immediate impending victories, straight into a time when they are going to inevitably mess up.
He knows them too well.
He really does. He stands there and essentially says, I know you. I know human nature. You are going to break this covenant.
Yeah.
You are going to face the curses we just spent hours talking about, and you are going to be scattered in exile among foreign nations.
He's giving them instructions for what to do after the catastrophe hits.
And that context of exile is the necessary starting point for everything that follows. I mean, the NAA Study Bible notes emphasize this heavily.
So.
Well, Moses isn't threatening them. He is establishing a realistic baseline for human failure. And then he provides the blueprint for restoration.
According to the text, that restoration doesn't begin with a physical journey back to the land. It begins with a very specific internal cognitive mechanism.
Like a mental shift.
Exactly. Moses says the turnaround starts when they, in the midst of their exile, quote, remember the blessings and the curses.
Remember. Okay.
Yeah, and the NAA notes point out a crucial linguistic nuance here regarding the Hebrew word used, which is lebaub.
Lebaub.
Right, which translates to the heart or the mind. So to remember in this ancient context isn't just to have a fleeting, nostalgic thought about the old days.
Like reminiscing.
No, it literally means to bring to mind. It is a profound, conscious realization of reality taking root in the cognitive center of the exiled person.
I mean, think of a modern GPS system.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. If you were driving on a road trip and you completely ignore the navigation prompts, take a wrong turn and just keep driving for 50 miles, you eventually hit a point where you are undeniably hopelessly lost.
We've all been there.
Oh, absolutely. But you don't solve that problem by gripping the steering wheel tighter, pressing the gas pedal to the floor, and driving faster in the wrong direction.
No, that just makes it worse.
Exactly. The actual journey home, the physical correction, only begins the exact second you mentally stop and acknowledge, I am lost.
You have to bring it to mind.
You have to bring your failure to mind.
Mm-hmm.
You have to consciously trigger the recalculate function in your brain. That internal mental shift has to happen before the tires on your car ever change direction.
That's spot on. The physical return is functionally impossible without that preliminary mental acknowledgement.
Right.
And the linguistic connections in the Hebrew text reinforce this interplay beautifully. The NAA study notes highlight a specific phrase in the subsequent verses, translated in English as change your fortune or restore your fortunes.
Okay, yeah.
In the original Hebrew, the root word driving that concept of restoration is the exact same word used for the physical act of a return. Yeah, we are looking at a breathtaking reciprocal action. As Israel returns to the Lord with all their heart and soul, which is the act of bringing the truth to mind and triggering the recalculation, the Lord returns to his people.
It is a mutual movement. They pivot internally, and the divine pivots externally in response.
God acts in direct response to their turning. The text promises that he will gather them from the absolute extremities of heaven.
Like, no matter how far they've gone.
Exactly. No matter how far into the darkness they have been scattered, he'll bring them back to the land of their ancestors, specifically invoking the ancient promises made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Wow.
The sheer geographical or historical scale of the exile doesn't even matter. The reciprocity of the return is the mechanism that triggers the restoration.
So we have this incredibly logical setup so far. The mind acknowledges the failure, the decision is made to recalculate, and the physical gathering begins.
Yeah.
But moving from the mind's initial decision to return into what actually has to happen to the heart to make that return permanent, well, that's where the text throws a massive curveball.
A huge one.
Yeah, Moses shifts from asking the people to do something to announcing something God is going to do to them in verse 6.
Yes. Moses drops a central, staggering promise here.
Yeah.
He declares that God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants.
Which is an intense image.
It is an intensely vivid, almost visceral metaphor. To understand its mechanics, we can synthesize the historical and theological notes from both the Holman and the NAA Bibles.
Okay, break that down for us.
Sure. So the concept traces all the way back to Genesis chapter 17. Abraham underwent literal physical circumcision as a permanent outward flesh and blood sign of his covenant with God.
It was like a tribal boundary marker.
Exactly. But Moses, standing on the plains of Moab, is taking that physical sign and turning it inside out. He is transforming it into an internal spiritual reality.
He is moving the mechanism of the covenant from the external flesh to the absolute core of human motivation.
Yes.
The imagery implies, like, cutting away a dead, impermeable layer of the heart so it can actually feel and respond.
And both study Bibles point out how verse 6 operates as a theological telescope.
A telescope.
Yeah, looking hundreds of years into the future toward the concept of a new covenant. It anticipates the prophet Jeremiah, who later diagnoses the people with uncircumcised ears and talks about a spiritual circumcision.
Oh, interesting.
It also sets the stage for Ezekiel's famous prophecy where God says he will surgically remove their petrified heart of stone and replace it with a living, beating heart of flesh.
I've heard that one, yeah.
Right. And the mechanism even stretches into the New Testament. The Apostle Paul, in his letters to the Colossians and the Romans, uses this exact ancient metaphor of a circumcised heart
To explain what exactly?
to explain the entirely new spiritual life and internal transformation found in Christ. It is a divine surgery meant to fix a fundamentally broken human will.
Wait, hang on. If we look closely at this, we have a serious problem.
Uh-oh. What's that?
Well, we just established in the first few verses that Moses is telling the people they have to choose to bring these things to mind. They have to trigger the recalculation.
Right.
They must decide to return and obey with all their heart. It is entirely on their shoulders.
Yeah.
But now, in verse 6, Moses says God is the one who has to perform heart surgery on them so that they're even capable of loving him.
I see where you're going.
Yeah, who is actually making the first move here. If God has to fix my heart before I can truly love him, but I have to return to him before he fixes my heart, I mean, that feels like a massive, unsolvable paradox.
It really does. It is arguably the most profound theological tension running through the entire biblical narrative.
So how do the notes resolve it?
To resolve it, or at least understand how the text resolves it, we have to look at a very specific grammatical analysis provided in the Holman notes. According to their breakdown, the grammatical structure of the Hebrew in verses 1 through 3 suggests something pretty counterintuitive.
Which is?
It implies that Israel's repentance, that initial moment of bringing to mind while sitting in exile, is actually initiated by the divine. It is an act of preceding grace.
Wait, really? So the GPS prompt to say you are lost was secretly sent by God in the first place.
Exactly. The human mind still makes the genuine choice to turn, but the capacity, the clarity, and the internal prompting to even make that choice are driven entirely by divine grace.
That's wild.
The Holman notes suggest this is how the ancient writers reconcile the absolute sovereignty of divine promises with the genuine necessity of human obedience.
Grace paves the road that free will walks on.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. To build on that, the NAA notes add a crucial mechanical piece to the puzzle. They point out that this internal change, the heart surgery performed by God, is the very thing that makes true, lasting obedience possible.
Because before, they just couldn't do it.
Right. God isn't just sitting back demanding a level of perfection that Israelites cannot achieve. He actually supplies the internal mechanism required to fulfill his own demands.
See, that changes the entire nature of the law. If God provides the internal transformation, the rules of the covenant are no longer this crushing, impossible weight hanging over the people's heads.
No, not at all.
The heart is literally reshaped to match the shape of the law.
And if the heart has been changed, our entire posture towards finding truth has to change. Which brings us to verses 11 through 14.
Right.
After establishing this heavy internal divine surgery, Moses completely destroys the human obsession with going on an epic quest for enlightenment.
He brings it down to earth.
He does. He shifts from the internal heart to the spatial reality of the law, telling the people that this commandment is not hidden from them. It is not far away.
You know, humans absolutely love to romanticize the search for truth as this exhausting, nearly impossible endeavor.
Oh, definitely.
We are obsessed with the classic hero's journey. We think we need to pack our bags, climb the Himalayas, sit in a silent 10-day meditation retreat in some distant desert, or, cross an ocean to find a guru sitting on a misty mountain to get the real answers.
We want it to be hard.
Exactly.
Right.
We operate on the assumption that if truth is easy to find, it must not be valuable. We equate geographical and intellectual difficulty with profundity.
Which is such a trap.
It is. But Moses looks at these people and flips the script. He says, stop looking at the horizon. He says, the ultimate truth is not up in heaven, so you don't need to ask who will go up to heaven for us and bring it down.
Right.
And it is not across the sea, so you don't need to ask who will cross the ocean to get it for us. The truth is hyperlocal.
It's right there. And the textual analysis from the sources here roots that accessibility in the theology we just discussed. Moses concludes that thought by saying the word is very near to you in your mouth and in your heart so that you may do it.
In your mouth and in your heart.
Yeah. The NAA study notes make a vital connection here. This extreme proximity, the fact that the ultimate cosmic law is sitting right there in their mouths and hearts, is the direct result of the circumcised heart.
Oh, of course. Because the divine heart surgery already took place, the truth was already planted inside the patient.
Exactly.
God didn't just carve a stone tablet and leave it on a mountain peak miles away. Through grace, he placed the very capacity for the law inside the human frame.
And both the Holman and NAA Bibles emphasize how revolutionary this concept was. So much so that hundreds of years later, the Apostle Paul quotes this exact passage from Deuteronomy in Romans chapter 10.
Okay, if Paul is quoting Moses speaking on the plains of Moab to the early Christian church in Rome, it sounds like he's using Deuteronomy to prove a point about the gospel itself.
He absolutely is.
He's arguing that grace wasn't just some new theological concept invented in the New Testament.
Right. Paul uses Moses to prove that the architecture of grace was there all along. Many people, even today, view the Old Testament as this era of distant, cold, impossible rules, and the New Testament as the sudden arrival of close personal grace.
It's a very common view.
But Paul completely dismantles that binary. He says, look at Deuteronomy 30. The ancient covenant message was just as accessible, just as close to the people as the message of salvation in Christ.
It was always about grace.
It has always been a message of grace preceding obedience. It has always been within reach, in your mouth and in your heart.
So if the law is completely accessible,
Yeah.
and if God has already provided the grace to circumcise their hearts so they can obey it,
Yeah.
then Moses has systematically removed every single theological, geographical, and psychological excuse the Israelites could possibly invent.
No excuses left.
There are absolutely no loopholes,
Mm.
which brings you, the listener, to the absolute climax of the speech,
There.
verses 15 through 20.
The big finish.
Yeah. Moses lays out a stark, uncompromising ultimatum. He tells them, see, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil. It is the ultimate line in the sand.
It doesn't get clearer than that.
But the sources highlight a fascinating geopolitical quirk here regarding how this choice is formalized. In verse 19, Moses says, I call heaven and earth to witness against you today.
Yeah, the witness part is key.
Now, assuming this operates like a standard ancient legal treaty, why on earth would he call on the cosmos? Why not just have the 12 tribal elders step forward, sign a piece of parchment, and call it a day?
Right. Well, to understand the logic of calling on the sky and the dirt, we have to look at the historical context provided by the NWA and Holman notes regarding ancient Near Eastern suzerain vassal treaties.
Suzerain vassal treaties, okay.
Yeah, in the ancient geopolitical landscape, when a suzerain like a vastly powerful conquering king made a treaty with a lesser vassal nation, the legal format required objective witnesses for ratification.
Okay, makes sense.
The problem is, human kings die. Vassal nations frequently rebel and rewrite history. If you want a treaty to last in perpetuity, you need a jury that outlives the signers. You need an immortal mechanism of accountability.
So who did these ancient empires usually call upon to serve as that immortal jury?
They typically invoked the pantheon of their respective gods. A Hittite king and an Egyptian pharaoh would call upon, say, the god of the storm or the god of the harvest to watch over the treaty and enforce the curses if the vassal rebelled.
But in the book of Deuteronomy, Israel only recognizes one true God.
Exactly. And the fascinating legal wrinkle is that this one true God is actually a direct party involved in the covenant alliance. He is the suzerain making the treaty.
Oh, so legally speaking, God cannot call upon himself to be the independent third-party witness to his own contract.
Right, that wouldn't hold up.
And he obviously isn't going to invoke imaginary pagan storm gods to validate his word.
Definitely not. Nor can he call on angels or human elders because they are created beings bound by time. They eventually fade away.
So what does he do?
Therefore, God utilizes a brilliant legal maneuver. Moses calls upon the physical cosmos itself. He summons the objective, permanent entities of creation, heaven and earth, to serve as the enduring witnesses to this eternal choice.
Wow.
As long as there is a sky above their heads and dirt beneath their feet, the witness stands, silently observing the fidelity of the vassal to the suzerain.
You know, the psychological weight of that is staggering. The idea that the very environment you walk through every day is acting as a cosmic jury for your moral and spiritual choices.
It elevates a simple behavioral choice to a cosmic scale. And the NWA notes clarify exactly what the suzerain is asking of the vassal here. They point out that life and living are the ultimate rhythmic themes pounding through the end of this chapter.
Right. Choose life.
Yes, but we must define our terms carefully based on the text. Choosing life in the context of Deuteronomy 30 does not mean choosing to do good deeds or trying really hard to be an upstanding moral citizen.
What is the mechanism of choosing life if it isn't just ethical behavior?
It means choosing the suzerain himself. It means actively trusting in the grace we spent this time unpacking, relying entirely on that divine circumcision of the heart, rather than attempting to manufacture your own strength.
Surrendering to the process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The text literally commands them to choose life. By loving the Lord your God, obeying his voice, and clinging to him.
Clinging to him.
Yes, clinging to him. The physical, desperate act of holding on to the source of grace. That, according to Moses, is the very definition of life.
Clinging to him. It's such a vulnerable, powerful image. As we bring this deep dive to a close, I want to connect the profound mechanics of this ancient wisdom directly to you, the listener, and your modern reality.
It's so relevant.
It really is. Because we live in an era characterized by intense, chronic information overload. We are always seeking out the next complex self-help solution, the next deep dive, the next revolutionary book.
Constantly searching.
Right. We are constantly looking across the sea or trying to climb up to heaven to find the secret, elusive answers that will finally fix our broken habits and wandering minds.
But the text says we don't need to do that.
Exactly. The core message of Deuteronomy 30, extracted from the careful scholarship of these study Bibles, is incredibly grounding. True transformation does not require you to embark on an epic, exhausting quest. It starts exactly where you are, right in the middle of your own messes and exiles. It starts by acknowledging the reality of your situation and bringing your need for recalculation to mind.
Just like the GPS.
Yeah. It relies not on your willpower, but entirely on divine grace to do the heavy internal lifting, that necessary heart surgery, that you simply cannot perform on yourself.
That's a relief, honestly.
It is, and it requires the realization that the most important truths, the ones that genuinely lead to life, are not hidden from you. They are already near to you, in your mouth and in your heart.
The entire paradigm of spiritual growth changes when you realize you aren't hunting for a hidden truth, but rather responding to a grace that has already been provided.
Beautifully said.
It shifts from a desperate search to a grateful surrender. And I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to ponder long after this audio stops playing.
Let's hear it.
If Moses called upon the permanence of the ancient sky and the earth to witness the monumental historic choices of the Israelites on the plains of Moab, what enduring parts of the universe are silently bearing witness to the daily quiet choices you're making right now?
God blesses all the listeners. Until our next deep dive.